right, this is completely off the cuff, this talk, so it's going to be like so. And it needs to be as well, because uh, this is something that's very close to why I'm doing these talks. If anything, the closest thing to why I'm doing these talks now. I think at some point I didn't want to do talks because I didn't really know anything, and I knew I didn't know anything, and I still don't. All right, I still don't. And like I said, there's glimpses and stuff like that, but I keep catching this thing myself in errors, and thank God for that. Caught myself in a massive error there today, which I can now turn around and start the correct procedure to to for it not to become a bigger problem, right? So Vernon Howard was a teacher in America. I think he started out in various places. He was in Los Angeles for a good while, and then he moved to Boulder City, Nevada, just outside Las Vegas, or not too far from there, somewhere around there in the States, right? And he was dynamic beyond belief. He would give talks to people in a small kind of like room auditorium, and you can see them online on YouTube. Most of them now are on YouTube. Most of his collection is even on YouTube. He talked, and he had for so long, for so many years, right till the end of his death. I think he died in 1992. I don't know what month. I think it was August, something like that. But he talked up to about 3 or 4 months of his death, and you can even hear his last talk, and he's frail, and he's kind of make sure this is on. Yeah, frail, and his voice is gone, and stuff is going and stuff like that. His last talk, and but he was dynamic beyond belief, and I've never heard anyone speak the way that he spoke, and it must have been something to be in the room with him. So like I said, this is going to be off the cuff, this talk, simply because, and actually all of them really pretty much are. They're pretty much off the cuff. I don't know what I'm going to say, and then I listen to them back, even if they have mistakes in them, or some of the lingo is kind of like unintelligible. I'll just leave them in because that's how I'm going to learn in loads of ways as well, how to just speak, and that's the way it needs to be. It doesn't need to be polished and perfected and all the rest of it, because we need to pick up things from other people for a start. I picked up loads from Vernon Howard, loads. Some of the tactics that I've employed over the years have been directly because of his teachings. Now, they're in secret, of course. Not many people know about them, and it's probably best that you don't tell other people about them anyway. You just do things in an invisible way, because it's personal advancement, right? That's what it's about. It's about personally advancing yourself, because we can't advance for anybody else. That's up to them. And we can give them pointers sometimes or say some things sometimes, but the minute you get caught up in trying to correct other people in a way that is kind of like, I know more than you and all the rest of it, you're it has to be first shined on yourself, and then you can work that way, and then by example you can show people. And that's it in many ways. And if they're not receptive to hear anything, then they're not receptive to hear anything. And that's it. It's none of my business. Like it's no one else's business what I do outside of if I'm causing loss, injury, or harm to anyone. I have the right to be left alone. All right? Everyone does. They have the right to be left alone if they're not bothering anyone else and they're not interfering with anybody else. Okay? Oh, there's a fly in the room. Do you hear it? You see, like he knew I was going to be doing this talk, right? So he's going to fly around the whole room now, and he's going to destroy my whole talk. The whole thing is going to be is I'll open the window, right? I'll open the window and let's see if he flies out. He did fly out. I got him. All right. So Vernon Howard. Um, okay, one sec. Right on the screen there. I know I'm going to miss loads of things out with this talk because it could go on for so long and all the rest of it. But like, it's going to be whatever it is. All right. But you check. I'll put a link to one of Vernon Howard's videos in the bottom of this and check it out. You know, the comment on the screen is not a comment that I found anywhere on the internet, but it is one of the ones that I heard that stuck in my head more than any of the others. Not even because of the Trap movie that I made, but just because it's something that I have used. Because at first, the mind is not a problem, right? You know, things have to start and originate in the mind to a certain point as well. You know what I mean? And they're like stepping stones to the next thing, right? So let me just read the quote. When you don't know who you are or what you want, you're out of the trap. Now, I love that. I love that simply because it's a pointer to how simple it can be. How simple it can be. It doesn't have to be all learning paragraphs and books of theology and everything and getting all because it wants that to a certain point. The mind wants everything to be really, really, really complicated, as if it's like, I'm never going to get this. You know, there it is in that statement there. That's it. You could work even just with that and go, wow, dude, that isn't that weird? Because we're told by society all the time, what's your ID? Who are you? Where are you from? Who do you think you are? Everything is kind of garnered and garnished around this ID bullshit. And it might be feasible to a certain point, that kind of like, that you have a reference, but at the same time, it's kind of like it's been used to entrap us with words and, pardon me, and paperwork and all these kinds of things. But the minute you start working within your own being of kind of like working out, I'm this, I'm that, okay, I'm this age, I look this way, I'm this sex, I'm this, that, and the other, because they mirror everything very closely with truth so you can get confused. All right? And so I spend a lot of my precious time, and that's the way I look at it, with trying to learn about this. And even the first little sentence, when you don't know who you are. Like, I think actually I mixed the two sentences there. I think when he said that, he said, when you don't know who you are or what you want, it's pure happiness. And I think he said you're out of the trap with another comment. I could have got them two confused, but either way, it's the same thing. It's pointing to the same thing. All right, because it's got to be ACDC. It's got to be the flip side of what you normally would do. You've got to a certain point, you've got to kind of like do the opposite. Instead of trying to have no pain for yourself when needed be, and you can learn something, put yourself into the pain even more. Okay? And so let me just pause here for a second because there's so many things I wanted to talk about with Vernon Howard. Okay, how I started with Vernon Howard was years ago, even before I had anything to do with the internet or anything like that. I had a couple of pages of his book, uh, I think that, what was it called? The Mystic Path to Cosmic Power. And I had 2 pages of this book. 2 pages, that was it. And they were kind of ripped a little bit, and they had the name of the book on the top and the page number. And I had these 2 pages from somewhere that I found or something like that. I can't remember really exactly where I got them from. And I used to read them every now and then. I used to just have them like in my coat pocket, and I used to read them every now and then. So when the internet came around, or I had access to it through a friend, I asked him to order this book, and then the book came, and then I got a lot more of his books, and I started to put studies into into place. So that's how I became kind of like interested in Vernon Howard. Another thing I want to talk about as well, because I'm going to segue now back to this, because this is one of the things I did want to say. When I said in the comment, the greatest American hero, now that's humor to a certain point and kind of like pun, right? Because, you know, he done a talk once on like there is no heroes. You were aware of that there is no heroes. Because they're always trying to sell everyone heroes all the time, whether it's Donald Trump or, or some boxer or something like that. There is no heroes, dude. This is just for the simple-minded people to go like, oh, there's someone doing something for us. No one's going to do nothing for you, dude. Let that sink in. No one's going to do nothing for you. Because even if they've done something for you on a physical level, it doesn't matter. The only thing that you can do is that you can work in the areas that, just say, Vernon Howard talked about in line with truth, right? And that can give you benefit. But everything else, like helping someone with this, that, and the other, doesn't matter. No one's going to help you. There is no heroes. No one's going to come save you, right? And the greatest American as well, like, that's probably more than likely a concept as well. There's concepts everywhere, America. So it's a bit of a joke, that he would even tear that apart and go, there is no heroes, and there probably more than likely isn't. And is American as a concept too. All right, so, but it does point to even though it is a concept on both areas there, American and hero, right? But to me, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say about it, whatever it is, we have to use words to a certain point as well. So even though I'm aware that they are concepts and contrary to the teachings and all the rest of it, I'm aware of that, but I'm still going to say this. Vernon Howard was probably the greatest man that ever lived on this planet. At least one of them. Okay? And it's just a shame that beings like him, even though a lot of people know of Vernon Howard, but it's still a shame that the masses of people still are looking towards idiotic bozos like Donald Trump. And I say that because I was caught in that nonsense as well, wearing the Trump hat, walking around and everything. What a load of nonsense, dude. These people are actors, they're clowns, they're bozos, and they are involved in treachery against us, because all they got to do is come out and say this one simple thing. All these countries have been hijacked by corporations, and don't vote for me because I'm going to be the CEO of the corporation. They're not going to do that. Fuck these people. They're going to go where they're going to go, and I hope they enjoy it. Fuck them. But Vernon Howard came up with loads of different techniques that you can work with, which I have tried my best within my lazy spirit to do. All right, and so I credit his teachings to even you hearing my voice right now. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because it's only the internal that is of any value. He'd say things like going to an expensive restaurant was akin to selling your soul. That the human body bores me to death. And he would do shock therapy with people inside this little room with people. Do shock therapy. But he was very tender at times as well, very deliberate, and he was mesmerizing, dude. He was just I don't think the people even that were in the auditorium really, even a lot of them, some of them, whatever, didn't really understand who and what he was. Maybe even, I don't know, and he was asked at one point. He said someone from the auditorium, because he had so many hours and hours and hours of talks. Someone asked him. They said, what, 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 what percentage, what does the idea of God play in your life? And he answered really quick. Total. Totally. See, everything can be taken from what he said and looked at, because there's no difference from the Creator talking to you when you're listening to him. Really, you know. So yeah, he was an amazing man, an amazing being, and and I'm making this video because it's an ode to him. Like I said, with the greatest American hero, but at the same time, that's really what he was. He could understand people. He could see them for what they were. He could see the condition and the trap that they were in, and he'd done his best within the parameters of truth to see if anyone was able to hear what he was talking about. And sometimes when I'm lying in bed, I'll have a little gadget, a little speaker system, and I just plug a USB into it, and I record a lot of his tapes. And sometimes at night, I'll just listen to him, or I listen to him during the day and do some of the techniques and some of the ideas that he put forth. And I'll just smile to myself, because for years and years and years, I was kind of like, I didn't really want to hear them. It was pissing me off, dude. Like, what the fuck does this guy know? Now I'll listen to them and I'll go, and I'll be smiling, going, man, I can hear what he's talking about. I hear what he's talking about, finally, But it comes through pain, And I think one of the things that he done as well was, you shouldn't let any circumstance happen without you benefiting from it, even if it's a lot of pain. Make an ass of yourself, make it harder for yourself. That's one of the things that I have done as well, and that anyone can do, is that, like, you can use other people. Like, I don't think there's been one human being that I've ever been in touch with or have known through my lifespan already that I haven't actually benefited from, regardless. Because if there's pain there, which there usually is, you can make it harder, and you can learn something in the spirit realm, because that's where we're going to advance, and that's what we're here for. If you don't know that, then go somewhere else. Because if you think the outside world has got something to give you, go somewhere else. It's got nothing to give you. A little bit of comfort here and there, and then we're back to that comfort. Well, you're not going to learn nothing, dude. That's not to say I don't like comfort, and hasn't got a small place and stuff like that. But still, we have to advance ourselves, and that comes from being uncomfortable at times. All right, so yeah, so I wanted to make this video for a while because Vernon Howard, whatever was shining, the truth shining through Vernon Howard was a real leader in the proper sense of the word. Not these bozos flying around with comb overs and talcum powdered arses and polished shoes and the ideal house and the scuffed car and and everything perfect and all the rest of it. Another thing that was great about him as well, but he didn't give a shit what he looked like. His hair was everywhere. He just wore basic clothes, couldn't care less. And it's like, the real king dresses as a beggar kind of thing. He has something to give you, though. He has something to give you. Most people can't see that. They think like, oh well, if you're trouble here or you're trouble there, and kind of like you're not clean enough, and you're not and they think you got nothing to give them. Incorrect. You've got nothing to give me. People don't understand that as well. Like, I'm not saying that like I'm above everything and I haven't got the same problems as everybody else. I have. But like, when you understand certain things about that it's internal, people who I've even known and everything, they're like, oh, I can't get, dude, you got it backwards. You don't do no work. You've got nothing to give me. You have no value. Zero. Because you've got nothing to give me. Other than, three-dimensional bullshit. So people are clowns and they can be used to advance, and you can use yourself in the right way to try and advance as well. Like I said earlier on today, something happened today where I caught myself being so right and then thinking, no, even though there's an element of rightness to it, I'm not going to go into it, but it's wrong because it's not going to create any harmony for me or my daughter or anything like that. So you have to look at yourself very critically in order to try and find out what you're doing wrong. And I worked hard today at that. That's what real work is. Looking at yourself in the right way. Not just blaming anyone else. You know, you gotta look at, even when you're completely right, you gotta look at yourself and go, maybe I'm not. You know, so okay, so I'll leave it there. I probably left loads of stuff out, but like I said, it's off the cuff and it's long enough. And I'll leave a link to one of his videos there if you want to check him out. Do check him out because, you know, the guy was dynamic, man. He was a dynamo. You know, and anyway, okay, enjoy. Adios.